What up? It's been a long time since I've been this big on a screen, right? Not just kidding. But today I wanted to talk about something that I feel kind of has to be spoken about, and it's something that's been, I've been watching online for a number of weeks now, especially since the business update, how the community has fallen apart. We've pretty much got an Avengers Civil War going, and things are just slowly and surely dismantling, crumbling. You've got all the issues that are currently in place right now. You've got games being, invaded by politics and other stuff. I'm not really going to get into that. I released a video earlier today reacting to something on that subject. Go check that out. But my issue today is regarding the Xbox leadership and exclusivity, and where we are right now and what we need as a consumer base from the leadership. And they probably will never come out and give us this information, but I feel like this is something that we as a consumer, I won't say owed because that sounds entitled, and we are just consumers. And yes, I'm fully aware that we are the product. At the end of the day, we are the ones that buy what they deliver. And if we don't buy it, then they have a problem, because then they lose money and they have to start doing other stuff in order to try and make that money back, right? If they make Starfield, which is 200 million to make, and no one buys it, no one plays it, everyone cancels their sub, that's sending a very strong message to Microsoft that we are in trouble because we have really, really pissed this consumer base off. Now, there is a lot of things that need to kind of be unraveled here. And, I've been thinking about making this particular video for a long time. And it isn't about Starfield, as you can see from the back. I'm just using that just because I needed a background. And it's ironic that I'm using the Starfield as an analogy, but it's really got nothing to do with Starfield. It's more to do with exclusivity. It's more to do with where Xbox is going and what information we as the consumers need so we can just get past this point we're at right now and just move on with our lives. Because, I mean, honestly, for me, it, you know what, I'm going to give my opinion at the end about where I'm at, personally. Because I don't want that to kind of misguide what I'm saying here. Because everyone's opinion is important, everyone's thoughts and processes matter, and how you feel about your favorite console putting games on other platforms or doing something different is actually important, because it matters to you as the consumer, and you are the one paying them the money in order to put, to buy those games and for them to give you those games onto the platform of your choice in order to play. Now, there are some people out there who have really changed their tunes that exclusivity doesn't matter. And in the grand scheme of things, I will tell you, for 90% or maybe 98%, it doesn't matter. But for the 2% out there, it does. And that 2% still needs to be catered for. It's just not going to be as powerful as the 98%. But in Microsoft's case, that 2% now is a lot more valuable because of how small their market share is, albeit they do have 27 million consoles sold. It is nowhere near the 80 million that they did sell back in the 360 days. And there are many attributing factors to this, from the, really bad launch of the Xbox Series X with no first-party titles and no Halo. That was a big bummer. I mean, personally, I would have delayed the whole console. If Halo wasn't coming out flagship day one with no first-party exclusives, delay the whole damn thing, man. Push it for another year if you have to. Make the console better. Redesign it so it's a bit more powerful, a bit more streamlined. Give developers a bit more chance. I mean, they gave developers 2 weeks before the console came out, before they actually got their hands on the actual, the kits, the dev kits. Pretty bad stuff. But even that isn't the issue here. It's the whole, what does exclusivity mean to Microsoft? Now, they try to create this ecosystem with Game Pass. So wherever Game Pass is, that is the platform, whether it's on your tablet, your phone, your TV. If you want to play it on your tablet, your phone, your TV, you have to be subscribed to Game Pass. And in particular, you have to be subscribed to the highest tier. And that's okay. That's revenue for Microsoft. If you want to play those games natively, you need to be on Xbox or PC Game Pass. That's okay. That is where the ecosystem is. But a lot of people are crying right now, or I shouldn't say crying, but up in arms, feeling betrayed that their games have, by going to PlayStation or by going to Switch, they have gone third party. Newsflash, Steam is not in the ecosystem. It never was, it never has been, and it never will be. Go ask any PC gamer you want out there. They will tell you flat out to your face, it is not in the ecosystem. Go ask Gabe. He will tell you, it is not in the ecosystem. Now, if Game Pass gets integrated into Steam, and then you can play those games from Steam for free as part of your subscription, that changes everything, right? That changes everything. Basically, what I'm saying here is what GeForce Now has done. You've got GeForce Now integration with Game Pass, and as long as you've got a Game Pass subscription, you don't need to go buy those games in order to play it on GeForce Now. You can play it through your Game Pass subscription. And if Steam allows that, then that is great. And maybe that is the overall goal, what Phil is trying to do here, and that will be a power move. I tell you that right now. Because at that point, maybe they will look at integrating the whole of Steam into Xbox one day. That is a real possibility that next gen could have that, if that is the power play move that they are looking to do. I just don't see Gabe doing that because he will lose a lot of money. And at the end of the day, we know businesses love money. So that's not, I mean, as much as I'd like to see that, I don't see it happening. But, where we're at right now is that Steam is a third-party launcher. It's a third-party platform. And all the games from Microsoft are going to a third-party launcher platform on PC. That already means that Xbox is already taken the first step into third-party. Now, you're going to say PlayStation is doing the same. I get it. But they're not doing it day and date. Sure, Helldivers has done it, but that's something that Herman Hulst has already said was the plan. And maybe this is Herman Hulst's way of easing PlayStation players into it for future day and date. As we know, Sony isn't in exactly the best financial position, so releasing Venom, which is the next game to come from Insomniac, which I believe will be the next game that they are probably truly going to test day and date with PC, may change everything. But if it doesn't, and PlayStation maintains that 2 to 5 years of period time between games going from console to PC, they are truly exclusive to PlayStation, or at least a timed exclusive to PlayStation for a set amount of time. Ghost of Tsushima is now being talked about. I think Ghost of Tsushima came out on PS4 about, 5 years ago? That's a long time to wait for a game. Most people that wanted to play it would have played it by now. The problem Xbox has is increasing its market share is almost going to be impossible as long as they don't have any games that they can say is fixed to the platform and you can only play it here or play it on Game Pass. And not everyone is going to have, a PC that can run it with Game Pass. And not everyone is, going to want to use Game Pass. There are people that are absolutely, abstractly, vehement that they will never use the Game Pass app, they will never use the Game Pass subscription, and so their only option at that point would be to go and buy an Xbox. But that hurdle has been dropped because of the day one launch to PC Steam, and that's where the biggest problem for Microsoft lies. They have already gone third party to a certain degree. Now, a lot of people say PC doesn't count. I've heard Reforge say this countless times, and I'm sorry, but that is moronic at the highest level. PC launcher is its own platform, right? The Steam launcher is its own platform. I can give you a prime example of this. Final Fantasy XIV as a desktop launcher, if you play the game and you try to run it and log in on Steam, it will ask you to link it to your Steam account, and from that point you can never ever use this desktop launcher again. You have to use your Steam launcher. They do not talk to each other because they have different APIs, they have different calls, they have different handshakes, they have different protocols. Therefore, it's its own, it's a launcher, but it's its own console platform, right? It's not a console, but you get the point I'm making. For those people that say it's not, it absolutely is. And that's where the line got a bit blurry for a lot of people, but you really do need to make that distinction that it is a separate platform. Now, the messaging that's coming from Microsoft is so blurred, even with the actual business update, which they had to rush in, 10 days? That was supposed to come out at the end of this month. And because of all the commotion, the leaks, I'm guessing there was internals going around, and Microsoft internally, the people that actually care about the Xbox console, decided to push those leaks out in order to start a commotion, start, a headache, and force, the suit's hands up the top to make a comment. They heard people's reactions. They heard the way, people responded. But the bottom line is it has caused unparalleled amount of damage. Well, not paralleled, but unfathomable amount of damage within the community. And that messaging that came out, you saw Sarah Bond going... I'm pretty sure there was some PR dude over there that was pretty much having a placard saying you can talk about this, you can't talk about this, but you could keep talking about this, don't talk about this. And there was like 2 or 3 of them doing that. Her head was constantly turning. You don't believe me? Go rewatch it and you'll see it. They were all kind of on edge. None of them were happy. None of them were comfortable about what they were saying. They were all kind of just going with the flow and trying to make the best of a really bad situation. But the bottom line is, even after that meeting, what we don't know is this. What constitutes the games going to another platform? Now, I know that notion sounds crazy, but how many of you already knew that games were going? Through the FTC trial, we knew 100%. Through the graph that Microsoft showed, they had games on the left, which were niche games, that were case-by-case basis, that would be going. Psychonauts was on there. Psychonauts is the same as Hi-Fi Rush. It's in the same category, right? And then on the right, you had the likes of Call of Duty, Minecraft, and that is where Sea of Thieves fits into. A big community, because Sea of Thieves has a big community. So they want to kind of push those games out to get more people in through their microtransactions to get, and to keep the game flowing, vibrant, and alive. So that's where those are. But the single player games like Starfield, Redfall, they haven't gone anywhere. Indiana Jones hasn't gone anywhere. Sea of Thieves took about 13 to 15 months to actually develop as a port. Was any time from that taken away from, say, Everwild or another Banjo-Kazooie game? These are the questions that need answering from the Microsoft leadership team. At the same time, he said, Phil Spencer, by the way, Starfield and Indiana Jones are not in development for any platform. So if they were to actually come out, or be announced for another platform, they wouldn't land for another 2 years. Possibly more in the case of Starfield, because it needs to be ported. Sure, there may have been a build that was in the works for PlayStation 5, but that build is so old it probably isn't even compatible right now with any of the actual code that's already been established and released. That pretty much needs to start again and be refactored into the language that PlayStation 5 can understand. So you wouldn't see that for another 2-3 years. That's how far out it is. And by that point, while they're on the PlayStation 5 Pro, we'll be on the Xbox Series X2 and the handheld and whatever the consoles are with Blade and everything else. But the problem is no one now knows what is the criteria, what is going to go and what isn't going to go. By setting a criteria and saying, right, this is the level of games, A and AA, that will go. The criteria is for this scale of game, 1 year. For this scale of game, 2 years. For this scale of game, 3 years. But AAA will never go to another platform outside of the Xbox ecosystem and PC Steam, because that is now third party. These are the informations. This is this is the clear-cut context that Xbox gamers need, because the current divide in the community is not good. It's not getting better. It's getting more hostile. We are seeing more people lose their minds, and as every day goes by, the actual messaging around Xbox is getting darker and darker and darker and way more hostile. You are seeing people who used to love the platform completely and utterly turn 180 and absolutely hate the platform with a passion. This cannot be good for optics, because no matter how you look at it, people see that, and it goes out to the world, right? Newspapers will report on it. I'm not talking headline news or stuff like that, but there are gaming sections in these platforms where they talk about IGN, where they talk about reviews, and talk about games that are coming. And this is all news that's going to come out and damage the optics of Microsoft and in particular Xbox. So what is the plan here? What is the direction? Where are we going? Simply saying, this is our plan, don't expect any more. Then you've got Sarah Bond saying that we want, Xbox is any screen out there. Then you've got people saying, Matt Booty saying that games will only, Game Pass will all games will be day and date on Game Pass, and Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. You've got Phil saying that games will, any game coming from Bethesda or anyone else will only be where, for Bethesda especially, will only be where Game Pass exists, and then that's not true because we're seeing Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation. So the messaging is so mixed. The messaging is so muddled. The messaging is just so phobard that surely someone at Microsoft with a brain cell can see that everything they've done up to this point either hasn't worked or has worked in their own mind or their own optics, and it's something that we can't see. But regardless of that, that is totally irrelevant to the bottom line of the situation. The civil war, the civil unrest that is within their own community now, which is tearing itself apart. These are the influencers that are supposed to be promoting, supporting, pushing the agenda of Xbox. They are turning against the foundations that they built. Now, if that's what they want, fair enough. Whatever. Now, in terms of exclusivity, like I said, exclusives, I've seen a lot of people recently turn around and said, exclusives are bad, they shouldn't exist, they are anti-consumer, and they are. They are anti-consumer because the whole purpose of an exclusive is for it to be designed in a way to prevent other people's playing that game. That is it. But there are benefits to exclusives. Stuff we're not seeing today, but in the past, when a game was exclusive, it was tailored for that platform. It was utilizing every feature of that platform to make that game work. Now, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Ratchet & Clank was supposed to be tailored for that, and it still is. It works on PC, but there are still hiccups here when it loads, or hiccups there when it tries to jump through a portal. It's not seamless. It doesn't run as well as it does on a PlayStation 5, which is a £500 console, where it was actually designed and utilizing the full power of that console, the full, specs of that console. I'm not going into the magical SSD. I'm just saying that it was tailored for that. And you can see it by the fact that there isn't a single hiccup in any part of that game. Play it on PC, and even on a 4090 with the best CPU, you are going to get loading hiccups. Jumping through portals, there'll be that odd freeze here, or that odd clip here, or that odd bit there. That doesn't exist there. And this is where exclusives come in, because they allow you to utilize that machine's full potential. We're not seeing that today, especially with the likes of Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, where we're seeing like performance mode running in a blurry state. We're seeing Final Fantasy 16 dropping down to 720p. Where is that utilizing the full power of the hardware? We're just seeing a game releasing on a platform for the sole purpose of selling consoles. That is it. Gone are the days back in the 360 days where it used to utilize the hardware, or the PS2 days where it used to utilize the emotion engine to actually push that game to make you say, damn, that looks real good. Now it's just a case of, okay, that third-party game looks really cool, but it doesn't look as good as, say, Hellblade, which is tailored for the Xbox hardware, or it doesn't look as good as, say, Uncharted or Tilu, which is tailored for that hardware. Sure, generational leaps are going to give diminishing, returns, but in the end, that's, what exclusives mean. They're supposed to be tailored so they are perfect for that specific hardware, and that, is going away slowly, and the sole purpose of exclusives now is to sell consoles. But even that is a purpose of exclusives. So to say that exclusives aren't important to a platform is being foolhardy and delusional, because they are. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is exclusive right now to PlayStation 5. It's only got a 3-month exclusivity. God knows when the PC version is going to come out. If you want to play it today, you have to go buy on PS5. There is no game on the Xbox that has that effect, because you can just go build a PC. You can play it through the cloud. And that's where the problems lie. And this, as a byproduct, is having third parties skip the platform. Whether people like those games or not is irrelevant. The fact that they are skipping them and companies like Capcom are skipping them is the problem. So that's another issue. But what Phil Spencer has to come out now and tell everyone is, in my opinion personally, is what is the vision? What is the plan? What is it that he wants? Where does he want to take Xbox? Right? That's it. Now, the 4 games going to PlayStation, that's an FTC thing. That's to satisfy the courts. That's going to happen. And more games will flow through. But what is the criteria of those games going? That is the key. That is what everyone wants to know. And can he guarantee that no AAA games will go? He'll never say never. But what is the criteria? People just need to know so that band-aid can come off. If everything's going, it's going. If only a select games are going, only a select games. But have the bollocks to come out and tell your community the truth. Because this civil war is getting out of hand. And, I for one am getting sick and tired of seeing people rip each other apart on social media. I know those suits don't give a shit. All they care about is that fat money coming in. Right, Phil? Right, Sarah? Right, Matt? You couldn't give a shit about me. I'm a nobody. You couldn't give a shit about Colt Eastwood, or Gaz, or Tim, or Peter Ovo, or any other Xbox influencer. You literally don't give a shit. We are just tools to your endgame. I'm happy to have this discussion one-on-one in an interview with any of you, where I will ask you the hard questions and see how many of them you can actually answer. If you want to take upon that choice, reach out to me. My email address is chaosprimezYT@gmail.com. It's there, in public view. It's on my About page. It's everywhere. Reach out. Let's have that interview. But the bottom line is, from where we are right now, it's clear that none of us matter. And for anyone to think that they do matter, there's something wrong up there. Because these suits only care about one thing, and that is profit, and how to make more profit off you. So, I said I was going to leave my thoughts to the end of the video, and so here are my thoughts. When it comes to exclusivity, personally, I like exclusivity for the sole purpose if it's being used to utilize the hardware to deliver the best possible experience it can get. And if that's happening, I'm happy for a game to be exclusive. I also think a platform, if you are going to sell a console, needs a kind of a staple. Like Xbox has Gears, it has Forza, and it has Halo. Those should never go anywhere. But in regards to exclusivity, in the grand scheme of things, I don't care. That's my point. They matter to a certain degree, and they have their purpose. But if they're not being utilized to push the hardware to its peak, if they're not being utilized to sell a console, then what's their purpose in the first place? And I think Microsoft has eroded both of those in one. So what are they trying to do? Again, Phil, Sarah, Matt, I'll send an email as well to have an interview, offline if need be, and we can do this. I'd love to do it. I'm a nobody. Literally a nobody. I got, less than 7,000 subs, so you may not even consider me worth 5 seconds of your time. But maybe do it with Destin or someone else who's going to ask these hard questions. Maybe Destin won't ask those hard questions. Find someone that will ask those hard questions, that will put you on the spot, that will force you to answer the questions in a clear term. Or just come out and have the balls to do it yourself. Because at the end of the day, this civil war has to end. And the way the Xbox community is ripping itself apart is just not good. It's not great. And I'm so sad to see it. That a once thriving community who was together, closely knitted, side by side, enjoying gaming, enjoying the banter, is now ripping itself apart, and it's all because of you. You are the culprit. Whether it's the suits or anyone else, I really couldn't care less. The buck stops with Microsoft. Just like with Redfall, and just like with everything else. The buck stops with leadership. The leadership is always the people at fault. Because they are the ones making the decision that causes the disarray. They are the ones that make the decisions to cut corners when it comes to video games. They are the ones who make the decisions to remove features, add features, shoehorn features that the developers tell you not to do. But you still push forward with it because of some bullshit BioWare magic. Because it's going to all work out in the end. Guess what? People obviously always blame the devs, but it's almost never the devs' fault. It's always the leadership. And the leadership needs to grow up, come out, and be honest with its community. And at that point, whoever wants to stick around will stick around. Whoever wants to game on Xbox, because all those games, regardless of whether they're going third party or not, are going to be day one on Game Pass. So whether you play it on PC, your Xbox, or your Steam Deck, or wherever you want to play it, that's going to come out the Xbox handheld, you will still, for that subscription fee, get to play all those games natively, day one, on your hardware. And that won't change, as Matt Booty said, unless it does change. Because we never know what the future might hold. But for the time being, where we are right now, that's not changing. And because of that, Xbox will always be, in terms of just pure value, the best place to game. But unfortunately, in terms of just complete wide support, it's not there yet. And it needs more third-party support. So what is Phil and the team going to do about it? Who knows? But one thing the community shouldn't be doing is ripping itself apart over this, fighting each other, tormenting each other, calling each other names, starting to lose your mind over a piece of a plastic box, because these people just don't care about you. Hiroki doesn't care about PlayStation. Hiroki doesn't care about the consumers. Jim doesn't care about the consumers. All they care about is your wallet. The same thing with the Xbox leadership. All they care about is your wallet. They will smile at you, cheer at you. They will even share food with you at a table if it means that they can utilize you in a way that benefits them. And Tim, I'm sorry, that's a reality with you. But that's it. It's been weeks I've been wanting to get this video out, so I know this may upset some people, I know this may hurt some people, but this is where we're at right now. And the Xbox leadership really needs to, pull its big boy pants up, or big girl pants up, let's be DEI and all. But, they need to now just address this situation and stop this civil war from happening. And they need to do it in a clear-cut way so there is no rebuttal, confusion, what-ifs, or nothing. None of this, none of that bullshit. It needs to be clear-cut, concise, and to the point. Otherwise, just come out and say, we don't care what you say. We are going to do what we want to do. I mean, that's the case anyway. But at least make it clear to the community so they can decide if they want to stay or jump ship. At least that way the civil war will end. Because all that's happening right now is people are looking on board and like, why the hell should I buy an Xbox if this is what's happening, if this is how their community is being treated? Screw that. And that's just the social media folk. The people outside, they're completely oblivious to this. They couldn't give two shits. And maybe that's the community that Microsoft cares about now. Maybe that's all that Microsoft cares about now. And if that's the case, I mean, from a business perspective, it's like 95% of the community. Why not? It makes business sense. Screw the people here that are the diehard ones promoting the games, trying to push an agenda, be an influencer. But for everyone else, they're just the average Joe that goes and spends 5 hours a week playing video games. They're perfectly happy with those people going to the shop and buying a game, or going on the digital storefront once a month and buying a game. Who knows? But that's my thoughts, that's my feelings, that's my view. Again, I'm sorry if this offended some people, but it is what it is. Right, that's it. Thanks. It's been a long video. I'll see you in the next one. Remain digital.